Okay. This calls to order the Monday, September 30th Planning Commission meeting. First item of business is approval of the meeting minutes from the meeting held on August 26, 2024. Is there any comments or discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to correct the minutes. They had me listed as being absent on the 26th, and I'm referenced at least 5 times in the minutes, so I couldn't have been absent and also correctly referenced in the minutes, so I was here.
Okay. Any other comments? And if none, would someone like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes as amended, with me noted as being present.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Right, motion passes. Next item of business is item item 2 is old business. We have none. Moving on, there's item 3, new business. Item A is site plan review for 5743 Windsor Drive, Fairway, Kansas, as submitted by Maggie Ha, property owner. Request for an exception for a generator location. Basil, will you please provide your staff report?
Yes, I'll let my report stand as submitted. They are seeking an exception for side location. The generator will be located 16 feet from the property line. And in the report, the last 2 pages, there is a neighbor's letter and the home association. And staff does recommend, is not opposed to the application.
Any questions for staff?
Basil, I have one question. It looks like the exception requirement is applicable if it's less than 12 feet from the property line. Am I reading that incorrectly?
No, you have to be 12 feet, minimum 12 feet to seek an exception. You cannot seek an exception if you're less than 12 feet.
Okay, gotcha.
Basically, the 12 feet rule is the decibel at the property line will be at 75 for a typical generator. And as far as street view, I think the picture will show a wing wall, so it's really not gonna be visible from the street.
So to confirm, we review all generators.
No, unless they're seeking a side location.
Okay, that's why we're seeing this.
That's right.
Any other questions or comments?
I would make a motion that we approve the application at 5743 Windsor Drive for the location of the generator, with the exception to approve it at the side of the house.
Is there a second?
Second?
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right, motion passes. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah.
I feel like all of us are, I can hear you, but can you hear me okay? Okay. Thanks. Okay, next item of business is item B, site plan review for 6015 Fontana Drive, Fairway, Kansas, as submitted by Stephen Buzzi, property owner. Request for new single-family residence with exception request to window hierarchy on north facade. Basil, will you please provide your staff report?
Again, I'll let my report stand as submitted, and staff is not opposed to the application regarding the exception request. And there is one note regarding the increase of the runoff. Per the watershed report, it says minimal, and they're not providing a retention system or.
Should they be providing retention?
And the engineer's judgment, he's saying it's minimum increase.
Does the adjacent homeowners have to be notified about the watershed analysis other than this meeting here?
No, it's just this meeting.
Any questions for staff or the applicant?
Can you remind me the hierarchy rule and what's the exception? I'm looking at I guess I need to look at the north.
If you look at the north
Oh, I see it
view,
now. Okay.
it's the upper windows are larger than the bottom windows as far as the size. So the code does require either smaller or the same size.
Any discussion?
Looks fine to me.
Yeah, I think it looks fine to me.
Are they smaller because that's where the garage is?
We can ask the applicant.
Yeah.
Is the applicant here? Would you please come forward and state your name and address for the record?
I'm Steve Busey, and this is regarding property at 6015 Fontana. And to answer your question, yes, the lower level is mostly garage on the north elevation, and we just didn't want to have that many windows from a security standpoint, safety standpoint. So to get the 15% glass coverage on the side elevations, it required us to add some more on the second floor. So, and it worked with the floor plan that way, both first level and second level.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? And if none, would someone like to make a motion?
I would make a motion that we approve the plans as submitted at 6015 Fontana Street and grant the exception for the window hierarchy on the north facade.
Is there a second?
Second?
All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Next item is item C, site plan review, parcel ID GP 2018000000002, Fairway, Kansas, as submitted by Finian O. Doherty of Area Real Estate Advisors on behalf of MREM Fairway Property LLC, property owner, request for sign deviation. Basil, will you please provide your staff report?
Yes, this is an application for a sign, and it's seeking a deviation, and staff is not opposed to the request, and it will have to go to city council for approval. And then the sign, as far as the time frame, it's until the property is sold.
Did they say why they need such a big sign?
No.
We can ask the applicant if you would like.
can-
Probably because it probably isn't even a place to put a sign right now.
Any other questions for Basil? Will the applicant please come forward and state your name and address for the record?
It's Finian O'Doherty, and I'm here for the parcel on 4210, or just off of 4210 Chalmers Parkway. The reason for the sign and the seeking of the V-shaped sign was we weren't able to put the sign close to Chalmers Parkway because of the lines on through the trees there. So we're having to put the sign quite offset, and the goal was to get visibility for the east and west traffic to the sign, just to try and obviously get as much visibility on the sign as possible.
Imagine you have to have a larger sign too, the faster the traffic's going, potentially. Any comments or discussion?
I'm not opposed to the sign. I think it's reasonable. I question the time frame. That we should have some sort of limitation. Sale of property is subjective. I think there should be some more definitive length for the signage. That's pretty standard. Is that possible to craft it that way in the amendment, or to say that?
Well, what time period do you want to identify?
Well, some time period, so it's not openly objective, like 2 years, a year? I don't know.
Sorry, we just did a sign deviation recently for the corner. I think it was adjacent. And I don't remember what sign limit or what time period we put on that. Was it a year?
Yeah, because that one was for the temporary leasing office, and so that's why there was a time period put on this one. When Boz and I reviewed just as a yard sign, we did see that it could be there for some time with the construction going on and everything else. And then also yard signs, we keep an eye on those. If it were to become deteriorated or any problem with it, we would address that and they would have to update it. If you do want to take a time period, it'd most likely be the same plans just coming back to you to review to approve again, which I think we could put a time period on that. But as far as a yard sign, Basel would be keeping an eye on it and make sure it stays in good condition. So that's why we felt we would just put until sold, which would be hopefully within the year or two.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to putting a year limit on it. I mean, it doesn't take that much effort to resubmit and review, correct? I mean, it's a matter of them resubmitting the sign and asking for an extension. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And I suppose the city council can just ignore a recommendation and approve without a time limitation, but we can suggest one. I
They
suppose,
can.
recommend, as part of recommendation, recommend that they impose a time limit of a
Yes.
year.
And if you want to recommend that, and if the council wants to override that, it requires a supermajority. Otherwise, I mean, so the council's options are to adopt recommendations that you advance, or they can override them and change them, again, by a supermajority, or they can return the application back to you for review, and they should give you a summary of the reasons why.
Well, it kind of looks to me like that property right now is being used as a storage yard for all the materials for the new apartments. So I'm not sure when it
Yeah,
would-
but if it sells in 2 months, then they have to clean it.
Oh,
Yeah, they are using it for construction right now. But if it sells,
What's the group's thoughts? Do we want to add an extension or I'm sorry, a limit, or do we want to just review it as is?
I'm not opposed to recommending a time limitation, otherwise it could just be there forever.
I'm okay with no limit. They're gonna need a sign till they sell it, unless we just want to review it again. And if Basel's gonna keep an eye on it and make sure it lasts, I'm not sure how they can even put it up right now. It seems like it's gonna be a while before it wouldn't get knocked down, but
I'd probably agree with that. I think we could put a limit. If it doesn't sell within a year, they come back, and I can't imagine we're gonna say no. So, as long as it's kept in good condition, which we've been told it will, so in that case, if we're good with it now, we're good with it in a year, I suppose.
Would someone like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we recommend approval with the condition of a 1-year limitation on the approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Okay, next item of business is item D, site plan review for 5901 Howe Drive, Fairway, Kansas, as submitted by Brandy Solberg, property owner. Request exception to green space for installation of pool deck, patio area, and pads for pool equipment and generator. Basil, will you please provide your staff report?
Again, the applicant is submitting a request for green space exception. Staff is not opposed to the application. They are going to 60.6% as far as green space.
I guess in general, I think we probably need to add to our list to revisit the green space. We created it and it seemed like it solved some problems, but it seems like it's created other problems, so we probably need to address that at the end of a meeting in the future.
I think we ought to address maintenance on the infiltration trenches also, because right now, there's no rules for any follow-up to make sure they don't get full of debris and don't function anymore, or is there?
Well, I think we had that discussion before. I mean, as far as estimate time, when that infiltration basin will need maintenance, the home may be switched hands 2-3 times. And I don't see how, I mean, yeah, we can verify that, but that's like, we have to do a program to verify that.
Yeah, we probably just need to look into it more and see what our options are. Because this just keeps coming up over and over, and it seems like the desire in the community is changing potentially. So regarding this one, are there any questions for Basil?
Was this, Basil, was this presented before this property with this pool?
No.
Okay. It looks really familiar. There's another one that's.
I know, we've seen a lot of this, right?
No, I think there are two that, I think one was rejected, the other one never, I mean, they submitted, then they withdrew. So, and then you had a few that came back another time for the percentage.
Well, the thing I'm not real crazy about this one, I mean, we have approved people with this much coverage, but normally they'll like make their patio a little smaller or try to do away with some other feature that was impervious, but it looks to me like this one, the patio, the original patio is smaller than the new proposed patio, and then we've added a pool in addition to that with some pretty large size seating areas around it.
Is that a question for me?
I don't, it's just an observation,
But I also noticed that they don't have any concrete, they may have a few pavers, but they don't have full concrete between the patio and the pool. So it does appear that there has been some compromises already made.
If I'm correct, generally when we've approved like green space exceptions in this case, has it been like a couple of percent one way or the other? Like, I think we've generally approved like 1, 2, maybe 3% deviation. Does that seem?
I think we've gone generally to about 60% kind of.
Yeah, that's my
the
recollection,
guidance that
about
we've been trying
60%.
Yeah.
I think, Ben, we had one, they were below the 60, and that's when you guys put a percentage, like an in-between, and they ended up at like the 62%. So on this lot, they will have two infiltration basin, an existing one and a new proposed one.
Any further discussion? Someone like to make a motion?
I'll give it a try. I'll make a motion that we approve the plans as submitted and grant the exception to the green space requirement for 5901 Howe Drive.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Next item of business is item 4, additional business. The next meeting date will be October 28th, 2024. Do we have applications?
Yes, we do have 3 applications. One of them is the pump station on Belinda, and a new house, 2 new houses.
Okay. Last item of business is a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second?
All's in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
But I think we do need to get that.
Huh?
We do need to get that green space.